Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, they're a super fun and exciting video for you guys today because we are going to be playing Capcom vs. Square. This is a brand new demo of a fighting game that obviously is being made by fans, but honestly shows a ton of promise. If you haven't seen my Capcom vs. Sega videos on the channel, I haven't done one of those in about 6 months or so. Basically, this is combining two franchises into a fighting game that never actually had a fighting game before. And even though this is just a demo, it is definitely showing a lot of promise. It makes me want to play this a lot more in the future because Capcom vs. Square Parallel Destinies is definitely firing on all cylinders. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. Now, if I could compare this to any two types of games, it would be Marvel vs. Capcom with all of the different aerials, along with stuff like SNK vs. Capcom Chaos, as well as the Capcom vs. SNK games, because both developers made those collaborations in different directions. And those are definitely some fun things to be compared to, although I will say the gameplay on offer here is definitely more impressive than SNK vs. Capcom Chaos, and that is a good thing, because as much as I do have fun playing that game, it is probably one of the bigger disappointments that SNK ever released in my opinion. And just be aware that this is a demo. Right now we're going to have 6 different characters across stuff like Final Fantasy, across stuff like Urgies, even New Zealand Story, as well as obviously Capcom fighting game characters. And even though this has never really existed as an actual retail game, these two communities, these two developers' characters actually go together very nicely. Though I will say Tessa here didn't really click with her as far as the character inputs are concerned. But I absolutely love that the community continues to make games like this because there's so many fun, inventive ideas out there and so many different mashups the fans would love to see but never actually come to fruition outside of fan developments. Because honestly, I didn't know I needed to see Tiki from the New Zealand Story in a fighting game, and I am surprised just how well it works here. And you can see Strider in the background standing on that rooftop as well. And even though this game doesn't really play like at this stage here, along with Tiki being an animal character, it gives me some massive Waku Waku 7 vibes. And if you've never played that one on the Neo Geo, I can't recommend it enough. It's a ton of fun. And that really is the fun thing of something like Capcom vs. Square. You can just absolutely be super inventive with the game, do whatever you want, make whatever backgrounds, put whatever characters you want in, and just basically balance the gameplay enough so that it's going to be a fun time. Now obviously this again is the first demo, so the gameplay here is 100% final, but I would say as far as the moveset is concerned, if you ever played a Street Fighter game or even an SNK game before, you'll be able to pull off some basic moves in about 2 or 3 minutes, because the footage you're watching here is my first impression of the game. I didn't really practice much whatsoever because I love to just kind of get a read on how I feel the game is when I first encounter it, and this one definitely is exciting to me and I want to see a lot more characters get added in. But honestly, for a first demo, having 6 characters here, nothing to complain about. And I would say Tiki Sprite, not sure if it's created specifically for the game or came from somewhere, it doesn't look familiar to me, absolutely does work well. And if you do know where that sprite's from, leave me a comment down below because I would be curious. And as we move into the next fight here, the backgrounds really do work well, even though this one could maybe use a little bit more animation. You can definitely tell that some of the artwork here might not be temporary, but might not have the same level of polish as you would expect from a finished fighting game. But as far as the sprites are concerned, as far as the animations are concerned, they have tons of frames of animation, maybe not up to something like Guilty Gear levels, but they definitely come relatively close to it, and that is a lot of fun. But honestly, this is a fighting game, so it's going to live or die on its actual gameplay elements, because it doesn't matter how pretty a 2D fighting game is, it doesn't matter if it brings your favorite characters in. If the fighting isn't fun, then no one's going to hang with this game, and nobody is going to play it. The good news is, even though I am not a fighting game expert, I play them all the time and love them, and everything here felt really smooth, really comfortable. I would say that the CPU AI is definitely a little bit brain dead, either absolutely destroying you or basically doing nothing, but I'm sure that will improve as time goes on. And again, these are the type of games you want to play with friends in the room or even online mode, because there was an online mode listed, but I wasn't able to get it to work here, so right now it would be just a local demo. When I was using my TR Octopus fight stick, everything felt really good, except every once in a while when I tried to get a diagonal jump going in, it seemed like it didn't want to read those inputs. And that's definitely not anything to do with the fight stick itself. I tested it just to make sure there was no sort of loose wiring and everything worked on every other game I tried. So that's maybe the one area where this could improve slightly. Just some of the diagonal reads seem to be a little bit iffy. But it also has an incredible soundtrack as it's got a lot of fun franchises to borrow from, so we're going to go into our first soundtrack sample here. 45 seconds of music, but come back because I got a lot more to talk about, because this one definitely feels promising.
This ought to be a match to remember. First attack! Yes!
I mean, super solid music, great sound effects, and the announcer's voice works really effectively there and does kind of sound like a Capcom developed game. So as far as the soundscape is concerned, at least in that first example, I'm really digging this. And I really like this stage as well with its kind of forced perspective, having that vanishing point in the background. The only other thing I wish this did a little bit more of was animate the background slightly more to give us more to look at. And just be aware that on your initial run, this is going to have a full filter suite atop it, and it's one of those things, I'm sure that's how the developers would like you to play this game. I just personally do not think that these filters compress well on YouTube, and I feel like it actually detracts from the overall image quality, so I turn them off, but if you want to run them, you totally can. There is an entire options menu here for you to kind of play around and articulate the experience you want out of something like Capcom versus Square. And honestly, I've had to redo this voiceover like 3 times because I keep saying Capcom versus SNK or Capcom versus Marvel because the idea of a Capcom versus Square game just confuses me and my brain's memory just won't let me say it. But that, again, is why I love the fighting game community. There's so many incredible ideas out there and people just sit down and think to themselves, you know what, I have something that I think people would enjoy, let me try it out. Because even though we get a decent amount of fighting games these days, the 2D fighting game genre isn't something that is absolutely prolific with new releases, so leave it to fans to bring us these new experiences. But you will see here, some of the AI could definitely be dead as I just sat there. They just sat in the corner and basically decided to wait 3-4 seconds before hopping forward. So hopefully when you do want to play that offline mode against the CPU in more feature-rich versions of this demo when they come out, then maybe they'll get a little bit more challenging. Because I will say at the default difficulty of 5, they either seem to want to just hang out or they absolutely can read almost every single input. But it is a fighting game after all, and that happens. And you will see there on that character select screen there are 6 faces blanked out. I'll let you decide who they are amongst yourself because you can basically play it and see, but it's one of those things I figured I'd leave a little intrigue. And there are going to be more than 12 characters when this game is done. Are there going to be hidden characters and variants? Honestly, I do not know, but I'm definitely looking forward to finding out. And that really is the main takeaway of Capcom vs. Square. Having played around with this now, I am looking forward to getting new entries in this demo and seeing a completed project because what's on offer here definitely has me a bit hooked and I want to see the team add more characters, add more stages, and then maybe fix that little diagonal issue I was facing. But again, that could totally be a one-off. I was able to replicate it and I don't know what's going on there. Let's go into the second soundtrack sample because again, I think this game's use of audio, music, sound effects, and the announcer is very effective. And I'll be right back to show you a couple more matches with a couple more characters. But enjoy.
This ought to be a match to remember. Fight! First attack!
I mean, also the music is fun and it is intense while also having a really good rhythm to it. And really when I play Capcom vs. Square Parallel Destinies in this demo form, I am definitely looking forward to just seeing more of this. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, outside of the characters you've already seen, even the grayed out ones, if you're going to add characters from Capcom and from Square to be bonus characters, who would you pick? And just because I've always loved it out of SNK vs. Capcom Chaos, I'd love to see Red Armorer come to a game like this as well because a very fun character to play as in a game that doesn't really ever hold my attention all that long. But this again is just a really fun forward-looking thing and I can't wait to see where the developers go with this one. There's so many different amazing fighting game franchises out there that could be mixed up and mashed up together to create brand new experiences that the fighting game community would definitely enjoy, but I think Capcom vs. Square is a really effective one. But again, if you leave me a comment down below, you tell me what 2 different developers' games would you combine together into a fighting game. I would be very curious. If you want to check this one out, the demo is linked in the description below and definitely is a fun time. And if you do play it, tell me if you have any issues with some of the diagonals as well. It didn't happen all the time, but it's the one thing I noticed that kind of drove me a little bit nuts. But again, this isn't a review because it is a work in progress demo build, so it is just more of an observation. But I am excited to see where this one goes in 2026, and hopefully I can update you guys soon. Bye bye.